Hello, my name's Dana Martin. This video series is going to be a way to share my story with you about my daughter's drug addiction. So this particular video is going to focus on how it all started, her path that led to drug addiction. After graduating high school, my daughter got a DUI. She went out after work one night with friends who were all older than her. She was underage drinking and got drunk and drove home and got caught and went to jail. And this was shortly after graduating high school. Unbeknownst to me, she had a problem with the OxyContin painkillers that she was prescribed for back surgery that she had had during her senior year. By now, after the DUI, she was already using OxyContin and abusing it. She graduated from that to smoking Roxy's, which I didn't even know what that was, but it is OxyContin ground up and put into a pipe and somehow you smoke it. I'm still not even sure. I just saw the pipe, I saw foil, and I knew it was OxyContin that she was using. She was pretty crafty. She got herself 3 different prescriptions from 3 different doctors of OxyContin. One bottle that we had found in her room while she was shortly living with us had 90 pills in it. And that meant that the doctor gave her a prescription for 3 months worth of OxyContin. And 2 other doctors had given her a prescription for 30 days apiece. Needless to say, once we started seeing all of this, it started to answer a lot of questions. My daughter was doing poorly in her first semester at college. She was living at home at that time. She said she wanted to stop going to college for a semester, take a semester off, and then she would start back the next year. So, as I said, at this point she's got the DUI. She was using the OxyContin, getting her own prescriptions because she was 18 and didn't need a parent to get the prescription for her. And she was smoking Roxy's. From there, one day I had a voicemail from her, and it was one of those where she's crying and I couldn't quite make out everything she was saying. Her words were slurred, but she was saying she was sorry over and over to me and that she really just wanted to end it. And I didn't get the voicemail until after an hour of her sending it. I rushed home from work to find her not quite passed out on the bed. She was still, I could still move her and wake her, but I could see a bottle of wine that she had drunk the entire bottle, and I saw a bottle of Xanax. So I called my husband at the time. We called the hospital. I drove her to the hospital, and there they did a preliminary observation of her and said that she was going to be sent to a 72-hour hold at a treatment facility. They obviously knew a lot more than I did. I still didn't realize that she was a drug addict. So she's sent to the treatment center, and from there she's given outpatient services where she goes to counseling. She went to her counseling sessions, and I also attended counseling sessions, as well as her dad and my husband, her stepdad, and her brother. We still noticed things going on with my daughter, and after so many sessions, the doctors themselves were saying, "You're using." And she wasn't supposed to be using. She said she wasn't using anymore, but at this point, she was using again. So now she had a choice of either facing jail time or go to inpatient rehab. So her dad and I paid for rehab services out of state and sent her to rehab within a month and a half. And now she's 19 at this point. She left rehab with another guy that was at the rehab center, also a drug addict, 15 years older than her. And they left, and they were in Utah, And I told her if she did leave, that the counselor there had said to me, tell her she has nowhere to go, that if she tries to call you, that you will not take her in, so she has nowhere to go. And if we close all the doors around her, then maybe she'll go back to the door of rehab. Well, that didn't work. I did tell her, don't call me. If you leave this place, do not call me. I will not be there for you. You have to stay in rehab. I will support you 100% unless you leave. It didn't matter. She left anyway. So she left with the guy, and at this point I'm distraught thinking, what have I done? I was just going on what they told me at the rehab center that I should say to try to keep her to stay, and it didn't work. So she stayed with the guy in Utah, and I'd say almost 2 years later, she contacted me, and we started a dialogue and started a conversation, and she seemed good. She seemed like she was getting better, that she didn't sound like she was high. And so, make a long story short, since that time, thankfully she's not with the guy any longer, but she has relapsed at least 7 times. That's all I know of. I'm sure there's more. That she's relapsed about 7 times to my knowledge. She's been in sober living. She left sober living for another sober living house and left for another sober living house because she either didn't like the girls there, or she had issues at some point with their rules or whatever, but she didn't stay in sober living. And in the midst of this, she keeps going for detox and more rehab. And then she, at one point, overdosed within the last 1.5 years. And I didn't know about it. She was with somebody. Thank God she was with somebody, because she stopped breathing and they started her breathing again. So she lived, she survived. There was a time I didn't know where she was. She was out on the street. I had taken away her phone at this point. We had taken away her car. We didn't know where she was living. She was lost to drugs. I never knew if I was going to get a phone call from her or from the morgue or from the police to say they picked her up. I was walking every day in fear of what had happened to my daughter and what am I going to do to help her. I mean, there was nothing I could do. She was out there lost. Obviously, at some point, she did take herself to rehab and got herself into a rehab that was paid for by the state, and she was there for a month, and then since then it's been up and down. It's not ever been as bad as it was when she overdosed and when she was out there on the streets, but it's been bad. Now I'm just thankful that she has a job and she is working. She's not in this state. This was a terrible place for her to be. So she had to leave the friends, leave the drugs, leave the circles of bad people that she knew. And she's in a new place and starting a new life, and so far so good. This certainly isn't the end of the story, because as I said, the last time she used was just 5 months ago. And I still don't even know exactly why she used, but she said each time she uses now, it's more important for her to stay clean, and that using is not good, and she finally realized that. But it's been 7 years of dealing with it. So I wanted to share this story because I know some of you have kids and loved ones that are in rehab, and I would like to share with you that it's probably better not to think they're going to be cured. When they walk out of there, please realize that there is this possibility that they will use again, that they will relapse. Just be prepared for it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I wish I would have known. I wish someone would have told me, chances are she's going to relapse again. I didn't hear those words. I hadn't been going to the family support meetings yet, so I didn't know to possibly expect a relapse. For me, I thought, great, she's out of the woods, she's cured. And it couldn't have been further from the truth. She was still battling the addiction and has been for years since her first stint in rehab. Again, that was 19 when she left rehab, and she's 25, and she just used 5 months ago. So if there's something I can tell you from my story, is that all of our loved ones have a long road ahead of them when it comes to recovery. And the best part that we can do for them is to be there for them when they do want to become a recovered addict, when they do want to get clean, when they do want help, then we're there for them. That's what our role is while they are in active addiction, is to let them know that if they want to stop, and when they choose to stop, we will be there for them and that we love them. That's all I can get out for this video. Thanks.